Well, today, everybody, we're going to finish up with Chapter 3. We're going to take a look at some of the characteristics of the organizational development practitioner. We're going to take a look at opportunities for these individuals in the professional world. We're also going to take a look at an important idea or concept, and that's ethics. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, welcome back, everybody, and today we're going to wrap up Chapter 3 as we look at the organizational development practitioner. Now, this chapter doesn't have a whole lot of depth to it. It's pretty much just indicating what the practitioner needs to possess as far as skills and characteristics and so forth. So let's take a look at the roles, responsibilities, and characteristics of the OD practitioner. First of all, you can have an internal or external OD professional. That means you either use someone from the inside of the organization or outside the organization. And we might have talked about this already. What are the advantages and disadvantages? Well, the advantage of hiring or retaining or commissioning an external agent is that you get a fresh set of eyes in that company. You're looking at things, this person will be looking at things that you might miss as a person who is in the trenches day in and day out. You may not know of areas to look for that may need improving or developing. So the external person can be a fresh set of eyes. They can be objective. They don't have really an agenda as far as trying to please certain people or trying to gain the favor of any one department or whatever. They are hired to come in and give an objective assessment of that organization. Now, the benefits of having someone internal is that they are quicker to select, whereas you may go through a lot of questions and interviewing and all of that with an external agent. Taking someone and letting them come in within the organization, you have a quicker access to them. And you also have that person knowing the organization and the ins and outs of it. So they have an intimate knowledge of the organization. Marginality. This is the ability to straddle boundaries. And a lot of organizations that are fragmented, you need to be able to work across boundaries and be able to bring people together and have a common purpose and a common goal. Emotional demands. Now there's this thing of that we call today emotional intelligence, EI, and that's your ability to be able to really understand people, be sensitive to their feelings and who they are and so forth, and be able to connect with people, and the use of knowledge and experience. This is what we are using these individuals for. Now, client versus consultant knowledge, you see here in this graph, this picture, that at the top, use of consultants' knowledge and experience. You really integrate their knowledge and experience heavily at this point because the majority of the right is taken up. At the bottom, the use of the client's knowledge and experience. They can become involved if they want to, listen and reflect, clarify, and so forth. So you see the different ranges of involvement that take place when it comes to the client and the consultant. Now, this is just general information, careers of OD professionals. You can be a consultant if you have a lot of, if you have experience, relative experience. I was going to say a lot of experience, but today they're looking for expertise in certain areas. They have individuals who have their master's degrees or doctorates in organizational development. I don't believe personally that there's a lot of programs out there for that now, because when it first came out, you had industrial organizational psychology, organizational development. So the market may be saturated, but that's not to say there won't be opportunities. So if you want to get a career in that, pursue a career in that, then just research the opportunities that are out there for these types of professionals. It can be stressful, leading to burnout because you're taking on too many jobs and constant travel. You are a consultant, so you've got to go where the people are, where the demand is. So that can be stressful, and large organizations or multiple organizations may want a lot of your time, and they're going to take it. So you have to be judicious with the amount of effort that you give to this profession. Professional values. These are some other characteristics, such as concern for open inquiry, democratic principles, and personal well-being. You want to promote a positive human, economic, and ecological value. Conflicts exist between organization efficiency, effectiveness, and optimizing human and environmental benefits, and organizational external relationships increase complexity and values judgments. So essentially, you are epitomizing the characteristics that are needed today for learning organizations, such as being able to interface between humans and environment, the business and the person. You want to have open inquiry. You want to be able to promote economic, ecological, human values, and that's not an easy task when you're looking at having to help the company meet its bottom line, but through the development of people. Now, professional ethics. And ethics is the way that we should behave. It's the study of how we should behave. And that's a big topic today. In fact, there are careers in being an ethical instructor today. But misrepresentation. OD practitioners claim an intervention will produce results that are unreasonable. That means you give them the pie in the sky answers to what they want, and you really can't do that if it's not something that's feasible. But a lot of people will say anything just to get the contract. Clarity of goals of the change of effort help prevent misrepresentation. So when you sit down and you contract with an individual, you want to make sure that you are articulating exactly what it is that you expect, but in return, they are going to have to clarify what their approach is going to be, how they're going to do it, and what the expected outcome should be. Misuse of data. OD practitioners use data gathered punitively in the organization. So it's one of those things where we're going to hold this information against you. We're going to threaten or try to coerce you into getting data. All of those areas are unethical. So you need to determine how data will be collected and used at the beginning of the initiative. And again, that happens during the contract phase, where you understand and you come to an understanding on who is going to do what and how you're going to go about it. Coercion, and that's where the members of the organization are forced to participate in the OD intervention. So the company can mandate whatever they want as far as their employees are concerned. You have to be careful doing that. And usually if they're forced to do it, they're not going to give you the support that you're going to need, or they may tell you whatever you want to hear just to get you off their back. So fostering relationships, and when you remember a couple of slides ago, when we talked about those values and emotional intelligence and all of that, those are the things that are going to be necessary to be able to foster a positive relationship with these individuals. Value and goal conflict. And here the purpose of the change effort is not clear, and clients and practitioners disagree over how to achieve goals. So all of that has to be articulated. It needs to be brought out from the very beginning. And you've got to be able to know what they're going to bring to the table, and they need to know what you expect out of them when they bring all of the expertise and knowledge and experience and models of development to the table themselves. I mean, usually you wouldn't buy a house without looking at it and having the seller adjust things and negotiate things and things like that. So it's kind of the same thing. Before you go into this relationship, both sides need to understand what they're getting into. Technical ineptness, that means that the practitioner is not skilled for that organization or for those demands that the organization is placing upon them. So you have to be careful with that, and many of them will misrepresent themselves. Also, too, they may only be knowledgeable in maybe one certain aspect of organizational development, and that's how they will approach the organization. But you may need more than what they can offer, so you need to be able to see their credentials and what they come to the table with. Now, the challenge that you're going to have is that many organizations do not want to have their name on a OD practitioner's resume. They may see it as a sign of weakness that can be used against them. And I've known some companies that refuse outright any type of reference to that company, even if the company's name is withheld or given a different name, and maybe location and type of company has changed, they still will refuse to let the OD practitioner use them as a reference. So you may have some challenges getting what you need as far as knowing the credentials of those individuals. And here we see the model of ethical dilemmas. You have the values, goals, needs, abilities. You have the roles of both, which are the antecedents, the role of the client system, the role of the change agent, the process itself. There may be role conflict or role ambiguity. Role conflict means that with what you're doing, there's going to be some type of, conflict with what you're doing and what maybe the company expects. Role ambiguity is just not knowing what your role is, and the consequences of all of this could be what we've discussed already. It could be misinterpretation. It could be misuse of data, coercion, value and goal conflict, and technical ineptness. So it's best to go ahead and outline everything, and that should go in your contract. Now, if you are working with someone within the organization as the OD practitioner, then you will have less of an opportunity to have role ambiguity. You may have role conflict. They may be working in their own department, and they may have a person that needs development, needs training, but that person may be a threat to you, so that may skew or bias the way that you approach this person or these people. So there may be a conflict with your role as a development agent, change agent, and your role as a maybe a manager or whatever. So there's all types of scenarios that can come up within the organization that can really pose a challenge or a difficulty. as you move through the development process. Just make sure from the very beginning, no matter if it's internal or external, that you are communicating exactly what it is you want to accomplish, that they come to you and they can tell you what they're all about, what they plan on doing, so that as you move along, you need to be a part of it. You need to be involved as the client with everything that they're doing. The more involvement, the better. That way there's no surprises. And the end result, you will already know what it's going to be and when you can expect it, rather than just telling a person, okay, change this, that, and the other, or develop these areas, and just let them run with it, and you don't show any concern whatsoever. That's where companies get in trouble. That's where you have misunderstandings, and it could be very devastating, not only to the company, but to maybe future efforts in trying to develop your organization. So those are some of the ways and the types of practitioners that you can use. They're at your disposal, and the opportunities for them. Everyone, today we saw some of the characteristics that are needed if you're going to be a successful OD practitioner. We also saw some of the opportunities for these individuals who decide to make this a profession. And most importantly, we saw the ethics and the considerations that we need to make to avoid role ambiguity and role conflict, and get into areas that are going to be unethical and unhealthy for the organization. Well, that's all we have for today. Have a good day, and we will see you tomorrow.